Well, a blow for Tottenham Hotspur with the news that goalkeeper Hugo Lloris is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks through injury, Shaka. And this is when having a good backup goalkeeper is vitally important. And that's exactly what Spurs have got in Fraser Forster, isn't it?
Yeah, they do. Listen. I like Fraser Forster an awful lot. I'm a little bit biased, and I know Fraser dating back to his early Newcastle days. So that's going way back. He's also shown his quality, and I think to this point his experience. And while he hasn't played regular football, understandably, as being number two behind Hugo Lloris, I think he's at a stage of his career where that's fine. I remember
Mhm.
my own time as being a number two, and how psychologically you have to be prepared for it, and at times that suits you a whole lot better. And I think Fraser Forster is that player. He comes in, he gives you 6 or 8 weeks, however long Hugo Lloris is out for, of sterling service. He's experienced enough to do exactly that. And then when Hugo is fit again, he comes back in, and no real issue to that either. So I'm not that concerned. I'm not that concerned by Fraser Forster coming in or his lack of action thus far.
You look at the games that he's going to be playing for Spurs and Milan and Europe and some big games in the Premier League. And you also look at some of the games he's played in. He's played Champions League for Celtic. He's
Mm.
played at the top level in the Premier League, up in Scotland as well, in European competitions. I suppose for him, it's funny you touched on that from a mental perspective. You've just got to be ready, haven't you? Because you could sit on your backside and pick up bonuses all season and not play a game. But when he comes in now, Spurs have got themselves a good backup. So defensively, how does it change things for defenders? What is the similarities between Forster and Lloris, and what are the differences between the two?
Um, I think defensively, first of all, you're just used to a different voice, and I, I say that not just it's not just about the voice or the tone of the voice, but you understand who's behind you. You understand what they're saying, what they mean when they say certain things, and just getting used to that difference without having to turn around. Um, I think the difference between Fraser Forster and Hugo Lloris as goalkeepers is Fraser comes off his line a little bit more, not as much as he once did, but a little bit more than Hugo Lloris once did. And just understanding as a defender, understanding some of those subtle differences between the goalkeeper's own positioning, where they want a back pass, whether they'll come for a cross, whether they just want protection or somebody to block out a striker. Those are things that you get to learn, you get to understand, and vary sometimes from game to game, from opponent to opponent, depending on who that striker is. But in terms of style of goalkeeping, not an awful lot. I'll be honest. As you get up in age, as both these goalkeepers have, there are things you kind of stop doing. That Father Time makes sure
Hmm.
you dial back on. You don't come for as many crosses. You don't come as far as you once did, and defenders understand and respect that.
Finally, we've seen in many sports people coming in to replace an injured player or a suspended player, and some people have kept the jersey because they've just been lights out. Now, we're not talking about Hugo Lloris of a few years ago when he was just unbelievable. He was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He has been criticised. Mistakes have crept in.
Mhm.
If Fraser Forster is lights out between now and when Hugo Lloris returns from fitness, there's a decision to make, isn't
Yeah.
there, as to who the goalkeeper is when both of them are fit. If Forster comes in and is fantastic.
Listen, all things being equal, if Fraser Forster is absolutely fantastic for the next 8 weeks, you can't leave him out. But
Mhm.
just speaking from experience, um, I expect Fraser Forster to be good, to do what's needed of him. Whether he's going to win you games, I'm not sure. I'd bank on that. I'd bank on him not losing you games, which as a number two is all you're trying to do. So if you were to ask me who I think will start in 9 weeks' time, I'm not sure who Spurs are playing in 9 weeks' time, but let's just say if you were to ask me right now who's going to start, who's going to be starting between the sticks for Spurs in 9 weeks' time, I'm going to say Hugo Lloris. But to your point, if Fraser Forster exceeds my own expectation of him and everybody else's, you can't leave him out. That's just how this game works.
Yeah, look, bottom line is Hugo Lloris is the number one goalkeeper and will likely come back in. But what Fraser Forster's got to do over the next 6 to 8 weeks is give the coach a reason not to drop him when Hugo Lloris comes back. Fascinating times, but for Lloris, 6 to 8 weeks out, and a big opportunity for Fraser Forster.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.